First thing is, Jeff Miller was a very unassuming kid. He was like all the rest of us. He asked a lot of questions. And one thing that I would, at this moment, like to belatedly thank Jeff for was that he questioned me probably more than any of the rest of his friends. Because every time Jeff heard me say something that sounded like a bumper sticker, he'd laugh. And a lot of us deserved that. If Jeff were in this classroom, he suddenly woke up after 37 years, the thing he would say to us is, why are we still doing this? What has happened or not happened? These would all be questions, and they're ones for all of us to answer in our own way. I don't want to, dominate the rap here, as they say, but the one thing that I recall from Jeff is that when he went to Kent State, which was just about 6 months prior to his being murdered by the National Guard, when Jeff went to Kent State, he was still questioning all of us. Jeff was questioning us in SDS. He came to meetings and he asked questions afterwards. He was the opposite of the true believer. I think if Jeff had a motto, if I could posthumously give him that motto, it would be, don't believe everything you think.
There is such social power in this room and in so many rooms like this all over the country where people are coming together because we are drawn by the sense of a need of the life system as a whole. Like the kids now say, we just can't be quiet. We got to do something. Why isn't everybody in the street? How can we tolerate this shit that is going on? Bloody murder all over the world, and we are quiet in our seats. But we're not quiet. Everybody is very distraught.
One thing I feel about the 60s is that it's been commodified, and it's something that gets sold back to us in kind of fragments. And nobody actually lives their lives in decades. I don't remember any of us saying on December 31st, 1969, oh shit, it's time to change. It's not that kind of a thing. And in a way, nostalgia for the 60s is like a wet blanket on the young people. It's like something that says, oh, I should have lived in the 60s when the sex was better and the music was terrific and fighting in the streets was just a way of life. None of it true, all of it fiction. And so we have to kind of recognize that then we were intergenerational people. Today we're intergenerational people. I can't think of anything more deflating than being nostalgic for a ship that's already left the shore.
You can count pretty much, don't even need your toes, to count the number of people who were academics and teachers who risked everything in that 10-year period to side against the war, to side for justice, and to throw their lot in with the students. I can only think of 3 or 4 people, well, maybe 5 or 6, who did what Bert did. And really, on one hand, at great cost, thrown off track, really creating a different life, a much more ad hoc life than tenure would get you. And really, in a way, becoming a teacher in a new guise, right? A teacher without university, or with many universities.
Thank you. Thank you for putting these on. So what's new? Here's a little strange knowing that in 1969 I was the older generation mentoring the younger generation. I can't figure that one out exactly. It's biblical kind of thing. And I wrote down what I wanted to say because I wanted to think about it, and I think, well, I'll say it. Maybe it's a little sentimental and all that. In '68, in particular, for a moment, the great mass of humanity seemed to be flowing towards some cataclysmic earthquake, some rupture with the old oppressive system. Some of us felt optimistically that we were part of the end of worldwide capitalism, a system based in greedy hoarding, painted with what I learned anyway, so it was new to me, a facade here in the U.S., a veneer of tissue-thin democracy, even thinner today, I guess. In addition, at the same time, there was the spreading of something some of us believe was the alternative, the logical, humane, democratic, and sensible alternative, socialism, that came on the wings of hope but sank before our sometimes too long unseeing eyes into forms of injustice that mocked its own heritage. In the Soviet Union and then in China, we saw a corruption of the ideals of the next possible kind of world. So in '68, these two rigid systems, socialism, sensible in theory but corrupt in practice, and capitalism, corrupt in theory and practice, in '68, these were confronted by a worldwide contentious conglomerate of liberational spirit. And I'm speaking sentimentally, it was grand. It was grand.